Dust floated through the air like falling ash as Daniel Ward limped toward the dead forest. His broken leg shook with every step. His helmet display flickered from the damage, showing only blurry shapes and red warning signs. Oxygen low, heart rate spiking, bone fracture detected. Daniel knew all of this already. He could feel every error message inside his bones. Behind him, the ground trembled with the distant movement of the biomachine swarm. They were not fast at long range, but they were patient. They followed heat. They followed sound. They followed anything alive. And Daniel, even half-broken, was very alive. He forced one slow breath. "Move," he whispered to himself. The forest ahead looked dead for years. Tall black trees reached into a gray sky like burned fingers. No leaves. No wind. No sound. The perfect place for machines to hide. The perfect place for a wounded human to disappear. Or die. Daniel stepped inside the dark line of trees. His boots crunched on dry bark and bones, small animal bones crushed by the machines long ago. The temperature dropped at once. His breath fogged inside his visor. Behind him, red scanner beams swept across the open ground like searching eyes. Daniel froze. The beams danced over broken rocks, burnt soil, and shattered metal from their crashed transport ship. Then, one beam reached the tree line. Daniel pressed himself against the trunk, holding his breath. The scanner beam paused. It hummed. It scanned again. Daniel felt his heart hammering like a drum. He forced it to slow down. Humans had trained him for moments like this: pain, fear, pressure. On Earth, they said humans were too emotional, too soft, too weak. But that was what the aliens never understood. Humans did not shut down when stressed. They pushed harder. After a long moment, the red beam moved away. Daniel exhaled very slowly and started walking again, deeper into the forest's cold shadows. His vision blurred. Pain stabbed his side with each movement. He leaned against trees, using them like balancing poles. "Just keep going," he whispered. "Just go." He tried not to think about his squad, about how they saw him trapped under the wreckage, about how they turned away. Evac's voice replayed in his mind. "The human is injured. We cannot carry him. Leave him." No hesitation. No guilt. They simply left. His jaw tightened. A tired laugh escaped him. "They think humans are too emotional," he muttered, stepping over a fallen log. Maybe they're right. His wounded leg buckled, and he fell to one knee, gasping as pain shot up his spine. The forest seemed to grow darker around him, but he'd been trained for this. Earth soldiers learned to walk on injuries, to fight through pain, to push past limits until the world bent before they did. Daniel took hold of a branch, stood again, and kept moving. Then, a faint clicking echoed through the trees. Click. Click, click. He froze. He knew that sound. Every soldier in the galaxy knew it. A machine scout. Small. Fast. Deadly. Daniel ducked behind a fallen trunk, lowering his breathing. His visor flickered again, but finally stabilized enough to show a red dot moving behind the thick tree lines. The scout's legs clattered against dead wood like sharp metal tapping bone. It was only one. But one scout was enough to alert the entire swarm. Daniel looked at his broken, half-functional equipment. No gun, no knife. Only a damaged soup battery, some loose metal shards, and a stubborn willpower that refused to die. He started gathering debris quietly, methodically. Like his old instructor taught him, humans made tools out of anything. Humans made traps out of nothing. He found a bent metal panel, a torn piece of cable, and a cracked energy cell from his suit's damaged hip plate. He twisted the wires with shaking fingers, biting his lip when pain shot through his arm. He whispered, "Come on. Come on." The small device sparked once. Then again. It was enough. Daniel placed the improvised trap behind the fallen log, making sure the metal plate aimed toward the scout's usual scanning path. He crawled slow, quiet toward a nearby tree and hid behind it. The clicking grew louder. The scout entered the small clearing, its glowing blue eyes sweeping across the forest floor. Its legs flexed as it moved, dipping its head downward. Then it stepped on the cable. Boom. A flash of white light exploded across the clearing. Trees shook. Dust flew into the air. The scout screeched as its sensors overloaded, its legs scrambling blindly. Daniel didn't wait. He used the blast light to sprint while limped deeper into the forest. His leg burned with each step, but adrenaline pushed him through the pain. Branches slapped his armor. Twisted roots tried to trip him. He forced himself forward, refusing to look back. He could hear the scout clawing at the ground behind him. Trying to regain its vision, he pushed harder. Only when he reached a thicker cluster of trees did he finally stop. His breathing came in short, sharp gasps. Sweat dripped down his forehead inside the helmet. His heart pounded loud enough to echo. The forest remained silent. The scout had lost him. Daniel leaned on a tree, closed his eyes, and whispered the words that kept him alive through the worst training days on Earth. I will reach that evac point. Crawl if I must. Then he limped onward, deeper into the dead forest, with the swarm still hunting, the aliens far ahead, and the night beginning to fall. Cold winds swept across the rocky evac site as the alien squad gathered near the landing beacon. The sky overhead churned with dark clouds. The rescue ship was still far away, delayed by the storm building in the upper atmosphere. Toravesh, the squad leader, checked the scanner again. Nothing. No heat signals behind them. No signs of Daniel. It is confirmed, Toravesh said at last. The human did not survive. No one responded. The 4 aliens in the squad avoided each other's eyes. Their armor was scratched from the escape. Their breathing was uneven. Even the wind seemed ashamed. One alien, Krelor, finally spoke. Maybe. We should have checked the wreckage again. Toravesh's mandibles twitched. We could not stay. The swarm was minutes away. Logic demanded we escape. But he was alive, Krelor whispered. Another alien, thin, blue-skinned Marith, hugged her arms around herself. Humans are strange. They survive longer than they should. Toravesh stepped toward her. He was injured beyond use. His leg was broken. His armor failing. Humans are slow when hurt. The squad fell silent again, but far behind them, deep inside the dead forest, Daniel Ward was not slow. He was moving through the shadows, branches scraping his suit as he pushed forward. His breath hurt. His leg shook. His muscles burned like fire, but he kept going. He climbed over a large fallen tree using only his arms. He wrapped a vine around his waist and used it like a rope to lower himself safely down a small cliff. He whispered to himself, "If you can move an inch, you can move a mile." It was something his old instructor said back on Earth, back during survival training. Humans were taught to endure pain, not ignore it. To fight through it, step by step. Daniel felt dizziness hit him. He leaned against a tree, breathing hard. The forest around him was too quiet, too still. Then a flicker of red light flashed through the trees. He ducked by instinct. A thin red scanner being swept across the ground, just meters ahead of him. The machines were searching again, faster now, more aggressive. They knew he survived the scout explosion. The beam passed. Daniel waited, counting slow breaths. 1, 2, 3. Then he moved again, up on a ridge of cracked stone. The alien squad activated the perimeter beacon. Blue light glowed upward, forming a long signal column. The wind howled around them. Toravesh looked to the sky. Rescue ship will arrive in 47 minutes. Krelor did not celebrate. He stared at the forest instead. "I heard something," he whispered. Toravesh looked at him sharply. "What sound?" "Ah, thump." "Far away, like something walking." "Probably the machines," Toravesh said, but Krelor shook his head. "It sounded uneven, like someone limping." Marith swallowed. "The human limped." Toravesh snapped. "He is dead." No one corrected him. But no one truly believed him, either. The aliens had seen humans survive firestorms. They had seen humans run across burning deserts. They had seen humans keep fighting even with blood pouring from wounds that should have killed them. Humans did not quit. And far away, Daniel proved it was true. He reached a small stream of muddy water. He kneeled, cupped his hands, and drank slowly. The cold water gave him a little strength. He washed the blood from his leg and wrapped the wound tighter with plant fiber. Then he stood again. He had to keep moving. The Evac site was still dozens of kilometers away. But he was getting closer. He stepped into a patch of glowing fungus. The light reflected off his armor, creating small bright dots on his visor. He followed the glow until he reached a hill. Then he saw something strange. A machine patrol 4 units destroyed. Bodies torn apart. Metal ripped open. Circuit fluid splattered across dirt. He blinked. He did this. He remembered now. The fight he barely survived during the storm. He fought blind in the dark, swinging a metal pole, screaming through pain and fear. He thought he died that night, but he didn't. He touched the broken machines and whispered, "Still alive. Still moving." Back at the Evac site, the alien squad heard the storm rumble over the forest. Thunder cracked. Then, another sound. A faint echo traveling on the wind. A scream. Not a machine scream. Not a beast scream. A human scream. Marith's eyes widened. "Did you hear that?" Toravesh pretended he didn't. Storm noise. But his hand shook. The scanner beeped suddenly. Everyone froze. A small red dot appeared on the map, moving fast through the forest. Faster than any injured human should move. Krelor whispered, Is that him?" Marith's pulse quickened. "It's heading toward us." Toravesh stared at the scanner for a long time. Humans were not logical. Humans were not predictable. Humans were not weak. "Impossible," he said quietly. But no one believed him, because somewhere out there, limping, bleeding, half-broken Daniel Ward was still coming, still fighting, still alive. And getting closer. The storm clouds grew darker as Daniel pushed through the dead forest. Lightning cracked above the treetops, lighting the sky in white flashes. Every time the light appeared, Daniel saw the twisted shadows of the trees stretch out like claws. The air smelled like metal and cold rain. He stopped for a moment, pressing a hand to his ribs. Each breath felt sharp, like a knife slipping under bone. His cracked visor flickered again, showing half-broken numbers. Heart rate, high pain level, critical oxygen. A moderate, laughed weakly. Moderate, sure. The first cold drops fell. Rain became a curtain of water in seconds, slamming hard against the forest. But Daniel wasn't afraid of the storm. Storms hit him. Rain scattered heat. Rain confused machine scans. Rain made footsteps quiet. It was a gift. Daniel adjusted a piece of metal strapped to his leg and pushed forward. The ground grew muddy, sucking at his boots. Roots slithered beneath the surface like snakes. Then he heard it. A roar of metal and electricity. A machine scout beast burst from the trees, its body tall and spider-like, legs stabbing into the mud. Blue energy flickered across its metal fangs. Its glowing eyes locked onto Daniel's heat signature. Daniel didn't run. He couldn't run. His leg was too damaged. Instead, he grabbed a thick branch and held it like a spear. The beast lunged. Daniel threw himself to the side, rolling across mud and sharp rocks. The beast crashed into the tree behind him, slicing through bark with its electric jaws. Daniel pushed himself up, breath rasping. Come on! Come on! The beast turned again, scanning with a red beam. Daniel could feel the beam heat the side of his helmet. He knew that if it locked on, the beast would fire a plasma spike straight through him. He darted behind a wide tree, pressing his body close to the trunk. The beast screeched and fired a blast, but it hit bark instead, sending wood flying into the rain. Daniel felt adrenaline fire through his blood. Pain faded. Training took over. He waited for the beast to step closer. 1 step. 2 steps. 3. Daniel leaped from behind the tree and drove the branch into the beast's scanning eye. Sparks burst out. The beast thrashed, swinging a metal limb at him. The limb struck his shoulder, throwing him back into the mud. The branch snapped in half, but the machine staggered, its eye damaged, its scanning beam flickering. Daniel grabbed a rock and slammed it into the beast's head panel. Once, twice, a third time. The panel cracked open, exposing glowing wires. The beast shrieked. Daniel shoved his broken suit battery into the crack and stepped back. The battery sparked. Boom. Lightning and blue light exploded outward. The beast collapsed in a burning heap of metal. Daniel fell onto his hands and knees, coughing hard. The rain washed blood off his face, dripping down his suit like melted paint. He looked at the destroyed machine and whispered, "Still alive." Somehow, he stood again, slow, shaky, but standing, and continued through the storm. Miles away at the evac site, the alien squad huddled under a rock overhang as the storm raged. Water ran down the stone walls. Thunder shook the ground. Mare checked the scanner again. The moving signal. It's still coming. Even faster now. Toravesh hissed. The storm messes with readings. But he stepped closer anyway, staring at the red dot on the screen. The dot pulsed slowly, as if matching a heartbeat. Krelor whispered, "Only humans move like that in storms. Straight, direct, no fear." Another alien, Veshra, shivered. He should not be alive. Toravesh's mandibles twitched again. He is not. The human died in the crash. Marith looked at him. Then why is the storm carrying a human scream? Everyone went quiet, because they had all heard it, and it chilled them more than any storm ever could. Back in the forest, Daniel climbed a steep slope on his hands and one good leg. Rain washed dirt down the incline, making it slippery. His fingers bled as he gripped roots and rocks. Halfway up, his mind drifted. He remembered the alien squad laughing once during training. "Humans feel too much," Toravesh had said. Emotions slow them down. Daniel had smiled back then. Now that memory gave him strength. Emotions didn't slow humans down. Emotions pushed humans through the impossible. Pain made him focus. Fear sharpened his senses. Anger kept him going. Hope kept him alive. He reached the top of the hill and collapsed against a tree, breathing hard. But from the top, the view made his chest tighten. Through the storm, through the flashes of lightning, he saw a distant blue light rising into the sky. The evac site beacon. He wasn't far now. Daniel's heart steadied. His breathing calmed. His focus returned. "1 step more," he whispered. "Always one more." He stood again, leaning on a branch for support, and walked into the storm. The machines hunted him. The forest tried to stop him. The storm battered him. His body screamed at him to quit, but Daniel Ward kept moving, and with every painful step, he was getting closer. Closer, closer, to the aliens who left him behind. Night fell fast on the dead forest. One moment the sky was gray with rain, and the next it was pitch black, as if the darkness had swallowed the storm whole. Only the soft glow of fungus on the ground kept Daniel from walking blind. But night on this planet was different. The machines changed at night. Daniel felt it before he heard anything. A cold pressure. A heavy silence. The kind that made animals hide and made soldiers tighten their grip on their weapons. He slowed his steps. His visor showed nothing, just faint blurs. The rain had stopped, but the air stayed wet and cold. Every breath tasted like metal. Then dash tap. Tap, tap. Not the earlier clicking of scout drones. Not the stomping of large machines. This was something else. Something lighter. Faster. Daniel crouched behind a tree and held his breath. The tapping grew louder. He squinted through the dark. And then he saw it, red dots. Not scanner beams, but eyes. Many eyes. Small, fast-moving hunter units built specifically to work at night. They slid between the trees like shadows. Their bodies were thin, insect-like, made of black metal that reflected nothing. Their legs moved in sharp, quick motions. Their heads twisted as if sniffing the air. Daniel's heartbeat thudded, so loud he worried they could hear it. He remembered a warning from an old mission briefing. Night hunters track heartbeats, not heat. They listen for fear. Daniel forced himself to breathe slow. Steady, quiet. One hunter stopped. Its head turned sharply toward his hiding spot. Tap, tap, tap. It walked closer. Daniel's muscles tensed. His wounded leg shook. Sweat rolled down his back. He clutched the metal shard he kept as a blade. Closer. The hunter's face was now visible smooth metal. No mouth, only a cluster of glowing eyes. It leaned forward, almost curious. Daniel didn't move. He didn't blink. He didn't breathe. A long moment passed. Then lightning flashed in the sky. The hunter recoiled from the sudden light. Its sensors overloaded for a split second. Daniel didn't waste that second. He swung the metal shard with full force. The shard cut across the hunter's neck area. Sparks burst out. The machine let out a sharp, static-filled screech, then collapsed into the dirt. Immediately dash. All the other eyes turned toward the sound. Daniel ran. He didn't think about pain. He didn't think about the wound in his leg. He didn't think about the storm, the dark, or the fear closing around him. He just ran. The hunters chased him, their tapping legs drilling into the ground. Tap, 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 tap. The rhythm grew louder, faster, closer. Daniel darted between trees, slid down wet slopes, and crashed through thick bushes. His lungs burned. His side ached. His vision blurred, but he kept moving. Up ahead he saw a broken metal door half buried in vines and dirt. A bunker entrance. Daniel threw himself inside and slammed the door shut. He fell to the ground, gasping for air. Outside, the tapping stopped. Complete silence fell. Daniel listened, waiting for the hunters to try forcing the door. But they did single quotes to dot. They were smart enough to know he was trapped. Smart enough to wait. He pushed himself up, limping deeper into the bunker. Inside, the air was dusty and cold. Broken lights flickered along the ceiling. Old crates lay scattered everywhere. Some cracked open, others still sealed. Daniel used a piece of metal to pry open the crate. Inside he found tools, an old battery pack, and something even more valuable, a small human repair drone, silent, dusty, but intact. His visor scanned it. Offline, low power. Daniel ripped apart the old battery pack and transferred its power into the drone's core. Sparks flew, but the device hummed weakly. Then it activated. A small light shone from its front. Daniel smiled for the first time since the crash. "Hello, little friend." The drone hovered shakily into the air. Its camera rotated, scanning the bunker interior. Then, at Daniel's command, it floated up through a broken vent and slipped. Outside to scout, the drone's feet appeared on Daniel's visor. It saw the forest, the ruins, The night hunters waiting around the bunker entrance like a circle of shadows. But then the drone moved higher, up above the trees, up into the night sky and Daniel saw something that made his stomach twist. The swarm wasn't just searching for him. It was moving, heading straight toward the Evac site. Wave after wave of biomachines crawled over hills, climbed trees, and poured through valleys. The swarm wasn't scattered anymore. It wasn't disorganized, it was marching toward his former squad. Daniel whispered, "No." He remembered the aliens leaving him behind. He remembered the pain, the abandonment. He had every reason to let them face the swarm, alone. But something deep inside refused that thought. He pushed himself upright and grabbed a long metal pipe, using it as a crutch. The Evac site beacon still glowed faintly in the distance. Daniel stared at it and breathed out slowly. "They left me," he whispered. "But I won't leave them." Outside, the hunters shifted, sensing movement inside the bunker. Daniel tightened his grip on the pipe. He stepped toward the door. "I'm coming," he said. Then he pushed the door open and ran into the dark. The forest thinned as Daniel climbed the long, broken ridge. Every step sent pain shooting through his injured leg, but he refused to slow down. Wind howled between the rocks, carrying the metallic scent of burned machines. The sky above remained an eerie gray-white, pulsing with faint flashes from distant orbital battles. His breathing turned ragged. His suit's oxygen stabilizer flickered again. "Warning. Core integrity 28%. Daniel clenched his fists. I just needed to last one more day. Maybe two. The ridge was known on maps as Hill 47, but soldiers had renamed it the Hill of the Fallen after a battalion vanished here during the first wave of invasion. When Daniel stepped over the crest, he finally understood why. Wreckage. Everywhere. Broken helmets half buried in ash. Shattered armor. Dried blood smears like black paint, and worse silence. A silence so deep that even the wind felt cautious entering it. Daniel swallowed hard. "Rest well, brothers." He didn't linger. He couldn't. If he stayed too long, the memories would drag him backward into the panic, into the fire, into the night where everything fell apart. The evac point was still 60 kilometers away. 60 kilometers through enemy territory. 60 kilometers with one leg barely working. He moved forward, but something changed beneath his boots. The ground vibrated. Subtle at first, like a heartbeat trapped deep under the dirt. Then stronger. Thump. Thump. Daniel froze. He knew that rhythm, targeting shields. He whispered, eyes widening. Only one machine class made that sound. The Reaver-class Hunter, a towering, bipedal war machine designed to crush infantry like insects. Daniel dove behind a fallen artillery shell, just as the Reaver emerged through a veil of dust. It stood 4 meters tall, plated in matte alloy, with twin cannon arms glowing with internal heat. Its single optic sensor scanned the ridge like a watchful red eye. Daniel held his breath. The slightest movement would expose him, but the Reaver wasn't alone. 6 drones detached from its back, hovering like metallic vultures. Their red beams cut across the field, analyzing every corpse, every weapon, every potential survivor. One beam passed so close to Daniel's cheek, he felt its warmth. He tilted his head millimeters, praying the sensor wouldn't detect the thermal fluctuation. The drone hesitated. Its beam returned to Daniel's hiding place, stopped, then moved away. Daniel didn't exhale until his vision blurred. The Reaver stomped onward, surveying the ridge. It was searching for him, hunting him. The swarm's communications tower must have tracked his earlier explosion, his trap in the dead forest. He needed to move, slowly, quietly. He slid his hand toward his side pouch and pulled out what remained of his suit battery, just a cracked energy cell still holding a faint blue glow. He had one trick left. One desperate, foolish human trick. Daniel unscrewed the casing of the dead artillery shell beside him. Inside were shards of old explosive gel, unstable, unpredictable, and very dangerous. The kind soldiers were ordered never to touch without full gear. He touched it anyway. Humans broke rules when survival demanded it. He smeared a thin line of gel along the cracked battery, careful not to breathe too hard. Then he placed the setup under a piece of metal plating and whispered, "Just notice me, big guy." Just one step closer. Daniel crawled backward inch by inch, muscles burning, legs screaming. The Reaver turned suddenly. Its red eye locked onto the plating. It scanned the object. Thump. It stepped toward it. Thump. Its weight shook the ground. Thump. The battery flared. The gel ignited. Kathum. A shockwave tore through the ridge. The Reaver staggered, blinded by the burst of white-blue light. Its drone spiraled wildly. Sensors overloaded. Daniel didn't wait. He ran, half limping, half falling. He fled down the side of the ridge as shrapnel rained behind him. But the Reaver was not destroyed. He knew it. Those things were almost indestructible. He could hear it recovering, metal limbs folding and cracking back into position. Its howl, a grinding mechanical roar, echoed across the barren hills. A sound that meant it had acquired a target. Daniel. He stumbled into a ravine at the base of the hill, gasping for breath. His gums crackled again from the static earlier. Suddenly, the signal stabilized just enough for a burst of sound. 9. Reed, this is Sergeant Vale at Evac Point Delta. We hold position for 20 hours. If you're alive, move. We'll cover you if we can. The cum died again. Daniel's eyes filled with fierce determination. Vale was alive. His commander made it. The evac team was waiting. He pressed his hand to his bleeding leg and whispered through clenched teeth, 20 hours. I can do that. Behind him, the Reaver's heavy footsteps thundered as it descended the ridge. Its drones reactivated, beams slicing the air. Daniel didn't look back. He kept moving, deeper into the ravine's shadows as the night began to fall like a curtain. The hunt was far from over, and the machines had just become desperate. He whispered to himself, voice steady despite the pain. They abandoned me, but I'm still going to outrun them all. The faint glow of the evac site beacon pulsed through the darkness, a tiny star in the vast ruined valley. Daniel could see it now. After days of crawling, running, climbing, and hiding, he was closer than he had ever been. Every step tore at his leg, every breath burned in his lungs, but he refused to slow. The aliens had given up on him. They had abandoned him. But Daniel was human. Humans did not quit. He limped forward, dragging his arm along a jagged rock for balance. Sparks flew from the cracks in his armor as he brushed against jagged metal debris. The ground was slick with mud and acid rain runoff, but he ignored it. Pain had become a dull companion, not a warning. Above him, the storm still raged, lightning flashing over the valley in brief, terrifying bursts. In those moments, he could see the evac site clearly, a cluster of alien ships, lights blinking, energy shields humming softly. The squad he had once called his own waited there, unaware of what was coming. Daniel paused on a ridge, looking down. His broken leg quivered under him, muscles screaming. Then he saw movement his old squad, Turavesh and the others, reinforcing perimeter defenses. They had not expected him. The thought made his jaw tighten. They had left him to die. And now he was here. First, he gritted his teeth and forced himself to move. Every step was agony. He fell once, scraping his arm on a jagged rock, but he got back up, blood mixing with mud, rain, and sweat. The first line of machines appeared on the horizon. Red lights, crawling over the hills like ants, moving toward the evac site. The swarm had followed him. Somehow, even far away, he had been their magnet. Daniel cursed under his breath. Great, just great. He scanned the wreckage and debris near him. There was enough metal, old wiring, and broken equipment scattered around to make a trap a final defense. Humans were nothing if not resourceful. He dragged himself behind a pile of old shipping crates and started working. Sparks flew as he rewired broken circuits, set up old battery packs as makeshift charges, and arranged debris into tripwires and barriers. His hands shook violently from fatigue and pain, but he continued. Every heartbeat felt like it would shatter him. Every movement brought waves of agony. But he kept going. Behind him, the aliens on the ridge froze as the scanner lights flickered. Something moved faster than they expected. Something they thought was dead. Evac muttered, "Impossible." The human. Daniel gritted his teeth. He could hear them. He didn't stop. Not for them. Not for himself. He finished the last connection and stepped back. The trap was ready. The charges were unstable, but they would buy the evac site enough seconds for the squad to survive. The first machines were close now. Red eyes glinting, limbs moving in perfect, terrifying coordination. They would destroy anything in their path. Daniel limped forward, his body trembling. He positioned himself near a main approach, knowing exactly where the machines would arrive first. His visor flickered, showing the exact timing he had calculated. Then he heard a voice behind him. "Ward?" It was Tora-VESH. Daniel didn't turn. He didn't want to. He didn't need to hear the apology, the panic, the shock. They had abandoned him. "I see you made it," Tora-VESH said quietly, almost afraid. Daniel's lips curved into a faint, painful smile. "I'm here. You're welcome." The swarm reached the ridge's base. Machines poured into the clearing, and the trap was ready. Daniel triggered the first charge. Boom! Metal and sparks flew. Machines screeched and staggered. The trap slowed them, buying precious seconds. Daniel limped from cover to cover, activating the next set of charges, forcing the swarm to funnel into his carefully designed kill zone. The aliens watched in disbelief. The human they had left for dead, half-broken, bleeding, and limping was controlling the battlefield like a seasoned commander. Another charge detonated, knocking over two massive hunters. Daniel pressed forward, dragging himself closer to the evac site. He was the first to reach it. The aliens rushed forward, finally realizing that the human they had abandoned had not only survived but had arrived before them and prepared the defenses. Tora-VESH muttered, He arrived first. How? How is this possible?" Daniel didn't answer. He just pressed a makeshift flare into the ground, signaling the evac ship. He kept moving, checking the defenses, repositioning debris, making every second count. The machines roared as they recovered from the first explosions. The first true wave of attack had begun. Daniel braced himself against the edge of a broken wall, bleeding, broken, exhausted, but alive. And as the first machine lunged toward the barrier he had prepared, Daniel whispered, his voice steady despite everything, "Bring it. I'm ready." For the first time in days, he allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction. The human who had been abandoned had arrived first. The human who was supposed to die had become the first line of defense. The aliens, watching, realized something terrifying. Humans did not quit. Humans did not die when abandoned. Humans fought back. The first wave of machines hit like a storm. Metal limbs slammed against the barriers Daniel had set, sparks flying as twisted steel groaned under the force. The air shook with the sound of their screeching, a high-pitched metallic shriek that made alien ears ache. Daniel's legs screamed with every movement, but he ignored it. His visor flickered warnings, low oxygen, fractured armor, critical fatigue, but he didn't stop. He had survived worse. He had endured worse. The swarm poured forward, larger than anything the Evac side squad had expected. Red eyes glowed from the darkness, scanning, targeting, calculating. "Brace!" Daniel shouted to the alien squad. Toravesh, Krelor, Marith, and the others scrambled to obey, placing shields, energy barriers, and weapon turrets along the ridge. Daniel ran from cover to cover, activating tripwires, flares, and pressure charges. Every explosion knocked him back, but every time he got up again. His body was battered. His suit was torn. His breathing came in short, harsh bursts, and yet he pushed forward. He became the center of the battlefield. Every machine that moved into the kill zone faced his traps first. Every misstep cost the enemy energy, time, and resources. One massive reaver stomped into view, its twin cannons glowing. It lunged at a turret, crushing it in one swing. Daniel cursed and limped forward, grabbing an old crate and threw it under the reaver's foot. Sparks flew as it crushed the crate, but the distraction slowed the machine just enough. Another blast from a pressure charge sent the reaver staggering. Daniel barely had time to breathe before another machine, a swift hunter, drone climbed over debris and lunged at him. He ducked and rolled, raising a metal pipe like a sword. Sparks flew as he struck its head, twisting wires and forcing the drone to collapse into broken pieces. The aliens stared in disbelief. They said he wouldn't survive. Marith whispered, "Humans don't quit," Toravesh admitted quietly, jaw tightening. Daniel heard the words but ignored them. Every second counted. Every second saved life. A second larger reaver advanced. Daniel limped toward it, dragging his broken leg across rocks and mud. His left arm shook as he held a flare, using it to blind the machine's optic sensors. Sparks danced in the rain as the reaver's sensors overloaded, and it swung wildly, destroying nearby crates and turrets. Daniel fell to his knees. Pain screamed through his body, but he crawled closer to the machine, forcing himself under its swing. Using a sharp piece of metal, he jammed it into a weak joint in its leg. The reaver collapsed forward, thrashing, sparks flying from exposed circuits. Behind him, the Evac ship hovered, lights cutting through the darkness. Its engines hummed like a promise of escape. The aliens prepared to board, but Daniel stayed focused. He had to finish this. He could not leave the swarm unchecked. The ground shook as smaller hunter drones approached, converging on the wounded human. Daniel pulled an old battery from his pouch, connecting it to a pressure charge. Sparks flew, and the small explosion threw drones back like ragdolls. Daniel rolled out of the blast radius, coughing, mud covering his face. He looked up, his eyes locked on the last reaver. Towering and menacing, glowing red eyes aimed at him. He could barely stand. Every muscle screamed. Every joint protested. His vision blurred. Yet he raised his metal pipe and gritted his teeth. "You want me?" he shouted. "Then come get me." The reaver lunged. Daniel ducked, dodged, and shoved a small flare into its circuitry. Sparks erupted. Smoke clouded its sensors. It staggered back, then fell to the ground with a deafening crash. The remaining drones hesitated. Something about the human in front of them. Something they did not expect. The aliens finally acted. Using the distraction Daniel had created, they moved forward, covering the Evac ship. Toravesh's squad joined in, blasting drones with weapons that had barely survived the journey. Daniel leaned against a wall of debris, panting. Blood covered his armor. His broken leg and arm throbbed with every beat of his heart. Yet he smiled. One last drone advanced, smaller and faster than the others. Daniel took a deep breath, gritted his teeth, and grabbed the last makeshift charge he had left. He threw it with perfect aim into the path of the drone. Boom! The blast sent shards of metal flying. The last drone was gone. The swarm's advance had been stopped, destroyed, delayed, broken. The aliens rushed to him, finally seeing the human who had been abandoned. The human who had saved them all. Avesh knelt, mandibles trembling. Human, we left you behind. You saved us. Daniel looked at him, his face streaked with mud and blood. He did not speak at first,